So do you talk about movie like dads in movies? Have you done that?
That is what we need to do.
Okay.
In honor, we're going to do the Ming Chen honorary list, greatest dads in movie history.
Greatest?
Oh, God.
So we do a top 5 list every episode.
Okay.
Of random, whether wrestling or
yeah, 5's a lot. Like immediately comes to mind is Arnold Schwarzenegger Jingle All the Way.
Oh,
yeah. Went to go like a turbo. That Turbo Man wasn't even that cool.
You are exactly right. There's the Turbo Man. Everybody's still
selling them.
They still sell them.
Like if Arnold was like, "Oh, I gotta get the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier for my son," that would have been awesome.
Welcome back to the Movie Dads Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Howie.
I'm Kyle.
That is Kyle. Kyle, we're back. Episode number 54 of the Movie Dads Podcast. I can't believe you haven't seen it. The 2010 action-adventure film, Robin Hood, with Russell Crowe. Of all the Robin Hoods, I had not seen this one.
Yep.
Because in my life, there's 3 Robin Hoods, and I don't need another Robin Hood. I mean, how many times can you tell the same story? That was my thoughts on it. But
yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that this movie exists. People just don't know it's even out there.
And man, I started looking into it too, and the story, and there's it started off as something completely different. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. But if you're watching us on YouTube, please click like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get notifications on when new episodes come out, which is at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesdays. You can also catch us, if not on YouTube, you can catch us on other podcast networks such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and many other podcast services. You can also see some of our short clips and videos on social media at Movie Dads Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. A little bit of a special episode this week. Movie Dads and Movie Kids in 60 Minute are getting combined because we had the Omaha Comic Con this weekend, or O Con Expo, as it's known around these here parts. Short for Omaha Comic Con. But we did the 3-day trek at the old Omaha Comic Con. We didn't really plan out how it was going to go, and we started, and things happened, and we decided we were going to go all 3 days.
Omaha Comic Con doesn't usually take 3 days to see it.
No.
But it just so happened to work out for us and the things that we wanted to do. And all 3 days were great, in my opinion.
I 100% agree, because they were all different in their own right. So to preface things, so the headlining featured celebrity at this year's Omaha Comic Con was one Michael Rooker, who you probably know as Yondu in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Also known for several other films, Mallrats, Slither, Tombstone, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, Days of Thunder, tons of movies. The guy's in a ton of movies. He's in almost every James Gunn movie, if not every James Gunn movie. He was in the newer Suicide Squad. He's been seen on the set of the new Superman. They having dinner and stuff with the cast afterwards, so we're assuming he's in it because he's a big James Gunn guy. But he was the featured celebrity. So, kind of to start things off, we had planned on going to Omaha O-Con on Friday night as adults, and then we had a special thing where Michael Rooker was actually going to be at a local brewery. That was a special engagement we had tickets to, but he unfortunately was not able to come to the con until Saturday, so they had to cancel that. So Friday night turned into just me and you and your good friend Matt went to O-Con. And then we were it was kind of like, let's walk around. Want to tell us about t-shirts? We got some.
Yep. So we finally got some Movie Dads Pod merch, thanks to my wife, who also designed our Movie Dads logo. She made some t-shirts for us. So we were walking around like 2 billboards with our Movie Dads Pod shirts on. And I think both you and I were kind of surprised at how many people were like, oh, you're a podcast. Literally, we walked in, I'm getting a ticket, and some guy that was working the ticket counter was like, I'm not even making this up.
He's like, true.
Hey, Movie Dads Pod? That's so familiar. You look so familiar. And he's like, "Did you have a wife named Stephanie?" He was like, "Oh yeah, I worked with her. Like she told me about your podcast. I've seen it before." So like right when we walked in, it was like, "Oh, someone recognized the podcast shirt and was able to pinpoint." So that was cool. And then as we're inside we literally like just walked in, and Howie had mentioned Michael Rooker was like the big celebrity that was there, but we had mentioned a couple of months ago when we talked about O Con, one Ming Chen with the Comic Book Men TV show on AMC, really big in the nerd world, connected with Kevin Smith, Silent Bob, for those of you who don't know who that is. But we originally, there was supposed to be like a podcast, not competition, but you could submit like an application of your podcast to potentially have Ming Chen like on an episode of your pod. And we applied, and then Howie never heard a single thing about it. So we were just kind of like, oh, I guess we didn't get picked, or maybe they're not even doing it because they didn't send anything out. But Ming Chen was still going to be there. He was like the second build guy to Michael Rooker at this whole event. And so we were pretty much like, we're going to see Michael Rooker. We got to see Ming Chen just to say hi, maybe get some pictures. And so the plan was at some point, like to go find Ming Chen and just mention like the pod. And literally
we just to talk, just to chat. Nothing crazy.
We just we're going to say like, hi, like, oh man, we were hoping to do the pod with you.
We have our own podcast that's hobby level. Like we don't have any kind of, goals set in mind or how this is going to turn out. We do it for fun because we like talking about movies and go from there. I just, that was.
It was so that for us, we were like, obviously we like O Con. It's way smaller than like a giant Comic-Con, but it's in our backyard and we still get Comic-Con. So it's like, we're happy because we're going to go get some art. We're going to get some freaking figures or whatever memorabilia that we're nerding out about. And then we have these two like celebs that we were like, we're excited to see them. We walk into this freaking O Con and we don't even get down the first row. We're standing at a booth looking at how he's nerding out about comic books, looking at some graded comic books, looking for the next $1,000 book to add to his wall.
I've never bought $1,000.
And I like turn and look, and literally like 30 yards away is Ming Chen. I look up and I see him, and he's beelining it straight for us from basically across the room. Like comes right up and it's like, oh, the Movie Dads pod. And then just started like talking to us like we had been best buds for a million years. Like just jumped right into talking about some nerd stuff, which we'll get to see because we actually, as we were talking with him, we had mentioned that we were like hoping to do that little podcast thing that they had, and we're like bummed that it fell through. But before we even kind of mentioned that, he was like, "Oh yeah, if you guys want to get any like content, like I'll be here all weekend. Swing by and we'll do content." And we were like,
we did not expect that whatsoever. He was super fun to talk to, super easy to talk to, super sociable. Which, if anybody that listens to this follows him on social media, he's a super social guy. Like he does these cons every weekend. He loves talking to people. He does a lot of like the panels. Like he's kind of the like MC of a lot of the panels and stuff. Even in Kansas City, he did a few when we were there. But obviously he has his own podcast. He's part of the big podcast network through Kevin Smith and all that. And it's crazy. This guy just comes up and starts talking to us and like, let's film content. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like it won't we're not talking like at his table where he couldn't run and we like pinned him where he was at.
He came to talk to us, which was amazing.
We were like, what? Like, dude, this is crazy. And we were talking about like Omaha bars and stuff. He is a social butterfly.
He knew bars that like we knew. He knew bars we didn't know in Omaha.
Yes.
Like he hadn't been here in 6 years. But that's like what he does. He does Comic-Cons every weekend. And he goes out and checks like the diviest hole in the wall bars.
And then he posts like pictures going out to all these places.
Exactly. So. And which is, hey man, that's my kind of jam. I like those hole in the walls. I don't like the clubs and stuff. Like take me to a place that's got wood panels on the wall. I'm down.
So it was cool because he's a dad. Obviously, he's a nerd like us. So like we hit it right off, and you'll potentially get to see that later because on day 3 we go back and we find Ming and we get to end up doing a interview for the pod with him, which was
we got a good few minutes with him, which we're going to show here in a minute. But yeah, it was great content. He was awesome to talk to and was all about it. Like, we didn't want to take his time away. You know, we were like, hey, if you got, you know, a minute or two, and he's like, heck yeah, let's do a couple minutes. We'll do it right here. And my daughter Reagan was with us, so she came with one purpose in mind. It was, if he says let's do it, she was going to record the whole thing. So I think we should just cut to it. And anyway, here's our first celebrity guest, Ming Chen from AMC's comic book.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We're at the Movie Dads Pods here at O Con.
Yep.
Ran into super famous Mr. Ming Chen. So
also a fellow movie dad.
Fellow movie dad.
I got credit. I like movies. I like movies, and I got 2 kids. So do I qualify as there more criteria?
That's it. Movies, dads. That's
Okay.
Your movie dad.
Wow, you guys are brilliant.
I know.
That's a lot of movie
if
dads.
we come up with a simple concept, you know, nobody else has it already. We run with it.
it started with us talking about movies and like, I can't believe you've never seen that.
Yeah.
Once we'd watch it, we would give each other our updates. And so then it turned into, let's just do a podcast.
Right.
That comment.
So do you talk about movie, like dads in movies? Have you done that?
That's a great.
That is what we need to do.
Okay.
In honor, we're going to do the Ming Chen honorary list, greatest dads in movie history.
Greatest?
Oh, God.
So we do a top 5 list every episode.
Okay.
Of random, whether it's small or
yeah, 5's a lot. Like immediately comes to mind is Arnold Schwarzenegger Jingle All the Way.
Oh,
yeah.
He went to go like a turbo. That Turbo Man wasn't even that cool.
You are exactly right. There's a Turbo Man in one of these
still
booths.
selling them.
They still sell them.
Like if Arnold was like, "Oh, I gotta get the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier for my son," that would have been awesome. Or I need, like the.
What was the toy that you got in the comic book now that you didn't have as a kid?
That was it. That was the G.I.
Joe aircraft
carrier. Yeah, it wasn't like a 12-inch like robot, Mr. Turbo Man that didn't really.
Right.
It's the size of a car.
Yeah, like I'm not fighting Phil Hartman over the Turbo Man. Aircraft carrier done. I'm fighting with him. Yeah.
So you brought up the other day, Ming, we wanted to ask on the side. So you had talked about Star Wars as a dad. That's something we talked about. It's like, how do we show our kids Star Wars or Batman?
Yeah.
In what order, how that goes.
Very important.
It is.
Very important.
Tells you a lot about someone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What would you say in terms of Star Wars, how you should show your kids the movie?
Oh, you got to do it how we saw it. Episode 4, New Hope first, then Empire, then Jedi, and then the other 3, I guess you probably go to the prequels because now you know about Darth Vader and the twist and all that.
Right.
And you see him die at the end. Now let's see him live.
Yeah.
Go back to the beginning. And, I don't think the prequels are that bad. I just think
now they're getting the love that they deserve.
Right.
Yeah, you meet a lot of kids who they were kids when they saw them. They love it.
Guilty.
It was
Guilty.
Yeah.
Oh, I
forgot
forgot.
Darth Maul.
I forgot you guys are young.
Hey, come on.
Well, he's the young one. I'm the original Star Wars.
Yeah, Darth Maul is he created one of the most coolest villains since Darth Vader. They kill them all. God, what was George Lucas thinking?
I have no
Like,
idea. And
surely,
you tease to bring him back,
and
and then
then you don't.
you don't.
Well, they realized their wrongs and brought him back to the show. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
it was almost too late then, though.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. We don't need Spider-Man, though.
Yeah, but like George is writing Phantom Menace, and he's at the end like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill him off." What is he thinking? Like, if I kill him, I can't sell more toys after this. Like, I can sell more toys if he's alive, and he could go through the whole arc too. I don't know what he was thinking. I guess they just gave up. I guess.
And then we get Solo, which not everybody loved.
Yeah.
And you get him back, and there he is. Here's Darth Maul back. He's
Yeah.
alive and well.
Yeah, he's got robot legs.
And then we never did it.
Yeah, magic legs. Lieutenant Dan. Like, yeah.
Well, what about the new 3 movies that came out?
I think.
You not show your kids because you want them to still love you?
No, I'll show them just to be like, because you know what's great about those is they make you appreciate the original trilogy.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Point. Yeah.
And well, it's so much so that whatever the episode 7 It's episode 4, but with bigger weapons.
Yeah.
Same movie.
Exactly right.
Same movie.
Yeah, and they
Force Awakens. It's a new home.
it is.
Hello. Like,
That's where I stopped with my taste. We watched the original 3, then the 3 prequels, then the Force Awakens, and that's the trilogy.
That's how it is. It's-
yeah, but even kids are like, wait, isn't that just another Death Star? I'm like, well, yeah.
That's just bigger, better.
Yeah, and like, and why is everyone so old? It's like, well, because they're old. Like they age. Yeah.
It's literally been.
Yeah, I
3 years.
don't like this trend where they're making whatever character Harrison Ford plays become a loser.
Yeah.
Like why? I don't know if he insisted on it, but that and Dial of Destiny, I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah. Just
You're a hero.
hanging up.
How it feels like that. I'm kind of opposite. I'm like, I think Indiana Jones is good in favorite games. Like, before we can get him the same content that I love, you know, he's more of a don't tarnish thing. Like, it's
I like Dial of Destiny. It's fine moving, but in the end, I was like, why did they make this? It did nothing before the legend.
Whereas they think if it's going to be good enough, they could get the Crystal Skull bad taste out of second.
No, nothing can take.
No.
No.
again, I'm
There you go.
who ended up enjoying Christmas.
And yeah, there are parts I like, but yeah, I don't know. You didn't need to bring in. I don't blame Shia LaBeouf. He was just saying the words and wow.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, did he have to swing around like a monkey and buy it? Like, yeah. Did the crystal skulls look like glass skulls and tinfoiling them? Shit. Yeah, I know.
I mean, you're a busy guy. We don't want to take up time.
Yeah, see, we can do this all day.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do Papa. Come on, Zoom or something. You know,
I would love that so much. Thanks for talking to
I
us.
love what you guys are doing. Keep doing it. All right, Movie Dads is the best podcast in the world. I'm Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Band. I endorse this message.
It was interesting how the interview ended up coming about because we skipped to day 3. When we went back day 2, we went with the kids. So we weren't really able to do anything other than you got to do your VIP picture with Michael Rooker.
Mm-hmm.
But we were hoping to do some potentially connect with Ming to do this interview, which we weren't really sure if he was just saying like, oh, let's get some content. I'll be here all weekend. If he was actually going to do that or not. And so day 2, we didn't see him. We had kids running around. It was crazy. I had baseball all day in the morning. So like I was spent. So we go back day 3, specifically just so we could potentially run into him and do this interview, as well as an autograph follow-up with Mr. Michael Rooker. And so we originally go over to where they're at. Ming was not at the table, so we didn't get to connect with them. And basically, we wasted some time, walked around, and we're like, all right, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. We're not going to get this interview. And as we were about to walk out, we're like, let's just make one more circle back. And we went right back there, and he was at the table with talking to some fans. And like the second that the fan in front of us like walked away, he was like, all right, like let's go, like come on, like let's video. So like super cool.
So we hope you enjoyed it because we had a blast with it and such a cool experience. But yeah, anyway, that was kind of how that went about with Ming Chen. So yeah, that was great. The rest of the con was awesome. Friday night was super cool. It turned into like this, I love movie podcasts. I'm going to check you guys out. Like people saying that, like just people talking to us about podcasting and things like that. It was crazy. And it was, we weren't there a long time. It wasn't busy Friday. Saturday was nuts. And that was when everybody was there and we had our kids. So that was nuts. But we had a great time. We got to see some of our favorite artists. We got a couple things we want to shout out on here in a second, but I got to start off with the headliner. So Michael Rooker. So I did get the VIP treatment. So on Saturday, we signed up to get our pick, our photo op, autograph, all that. We got our photo op, me and my kids with Michael Rooker. He was awesome. He was great to talk to. He had a good time. My daughter had a Comic-Con experience, Kansas City, getting a photo op, which wasn't the greatest. It was like a come in, take your picture. They don't even say hi to you, get out. It's like you paid that much money for that. This was an interaction. He was really cool. He was nice. He was complimentary, things like that. So we left because the kids were getting a little rowdy. We got our picture. And we knew Sunday we were going to come back and get that autograph while we were there for that short amount of time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We go to Michael Rooker's table. It's not a super long line on Sunday because it wasn't as busy. We get right up there. He's talking about my kids, how awesome, the picture was it took, how good the kids looked, how bad me and him looked, things like that. He's talking to the guy in front of me about when he did like Call of Duty 2 Black Ops, and he was doing the voices, and he was a character in the zombies. And
yes, the kid brought an Xbox of Call of Duty for him to sign, and he was like Howie said, he was not like, sometimes with these things the celebs will like rush through, right? Give me your $30 for this autograph and get out. He did not care. He was taking his time. The Xbox showed up and he like lit up and was like, oh, I never get to sign these, like, and then talked about like, I made a ton of money doing this. Though it was the guy in front of us that brought that, he, for whatever reason, had been turning and was just talking to Howie about this Xbox for like 5 minutes, and it was just like such an interesting, awesome experience. So
not as awesome as your experience with Michael Rooker.
Okay, so hear me out, guys. Obviously, I like Guardians of the Galaxy. Yondu is a super cool, interesting character. Michael Rooker, to me, growing up, is one Rowdy Burns from the movie Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise. It's a NASCAR movie. My dad was from the South, so that was the type of movies we were watching. So, and Rowdy Burns is a fucking badass in that movie. So, as we the whole weekend before we got there, as O Con was coming, I had mentioned to Howie, like, I hope this is like the dude from The Knight's Tale that we met the other day or a couple of weeks ago.
We saw Paul Bettany, and everybody's
Paul
like,
Bettany.
"Oh, it's Vision! It's Vision from Marvel! It's Vision!" And he was like, "I'll talk about A Knight's Tale all day."
Yes, and I was like, man, I hope we meet Paul Bettany. Like, I'm gonna bring up A Knight's Tale because I bet nobody talks about that. And then that ended up being like the thing we talked about the most and we had the most fun with. So I was hoping, I had said to you, like, Michael Rooker, like, I'm not gonna like. This isn't Yondu. Like, this is freaking Rowdy Burns. And we walked up to the table and they have like stacks of headshots and pictures from all their different movies for you to be able to pick and have him sign. You got to pay money for it. And right when we walk up, first thing I see is like 6 different Rowdy Burns headshots.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, I love that he's repping that. So Howie has this great moment. They're taking 10 minutes to look at that VIP picture and talk about how cool his kids are and how not attractive Howie and himself are. And it was really funny. And we're leaving. And I was kind of sitting in the back. And as we're leaving, he had shook your hand. So I just kind of reached in and was like, I got to shake the hand of the Rowdy Burns. And he reached out for my hand and shook it. And as he realized what I had just like referenced, his eyes like got huge. He got this giant smile on his face and was like, oh my God, I can't, nobody talks about that movie. He's like, you're coming with me. So he does not let go of my hand. He comes around the table, keeps holding my hand, puts it over his shoulder, and leads me through this line of like 30 people that are waiting to meet with him. It's like, we're doing something. You're coming here, and like leads me, and I'm literally like laughing, shocked out of my mind, and I'm also saying over and over, like, this is the best day of my life.
What is going on?
Yeah, like what the fuck is happening? And walks me over to where those headshots were of Rowdy Burns, and he's like, which one do you want? As he's got his arm around me, like we're hanging out best buds. Which one of these do you want? You're getting it for free on me. It's like nobody talks about Rowdy Burns. Like no one ever brings up. It's one of my favorite movies. And I just said to him, like, what do you think is the most majestic looking one? And he was like, this one. So we picked this picture out of one Rowdy Burns, straight NASCAR. He signed it Michael Rooker, but he also signed it Rowdy Burns. And it was like such a cool random moment. I was not planning or expecting that at all. And it was just like a moment that I will literally remember and cherish for the rest of my life.
It was so amazing. Cool. It was so cool to watch that because he was like tickled pink. Like he was over the moon that you called him Rowdy Burns. And he's like,
it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, Rowdy Burns. I love
I
it.
immediately called my mom whenever I got home. Was like, you will not freaking believe Rowdy Burns from Days of Thunder, and I got to hang out for a minute today. It was cool. So
Yeah. And I remember like growing up too, like every movie Michael Rooker was in, he was like this creepy bad guy, every single movie.
yes,
And he was like the coolest guy to just interact with.
yes, he was so like he was having a blast, not just in like our moment, but just everyone that he had met. He was, like I had said, he was taking his time. He was laughing. I don't know if it was his wife or his assistant that was there, but like they were like ribbing each other the whole time.
Yeah.
He's just this like Bermuda like bucket hat wearing like Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, it's like a.
like
I mean, this one he's wearing
Bahama.
like a denim shirt and like a old fedora. Man, he is. That was the day before. He just was. It was cool.
He's just chill as hell. So
yeah,
but it was awesome. I had a freaking blast.
So O Con was a hit. The kids had a good time the day they went. Right. We had a blast, obviously, for numerous reasons, but we did get to see some of our favorite artists as well, that we want to always give a shout out to. So first off, every time I go to a con, I see Jamie Coker, and I've talked about him here on before, and I'll make sure to put his info in on the video and everything. But he made this like con exclusive. I had to get of like Michael Rooker as Yondu, but in the bathroom mirror, like Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. So it says Portrait of a Ravager on it. It's awesome. I thought about getting Rooker to sign it, but I was like, man, I almost want to just keep it like that because it's great. Also got some new art prints from him as well. Obviously, he's got my turtle print that's here, but I got a Spawn and Venom print, which is pretty great.
Nice. I didn't see you snag that.
I don't think you saw me snag those. And I got this awesome Wolverine print
as well. I didn't see that either. Yeah.
And then Reagan got a print, but I just really like his art. Obviously, we talked about the Bane and Batman one we got last time in Des Moines.
So he is awesome. And every con we've been at, we usually like nerd out with him about like whoever the celebrity is there. Like he's just super down to earth. I had just like mentioned like, because as we're talking, we kind of remind him like, oh yeah, we're like, this is Howie's the guy who gets every new version of your Turtles monsters, and like it clicks and he's like, oh yeah, like you guys you're great. And I just mentioned, I was like, yeah, you have a blacklight shredder that is, every time I see you at a con, I'm like, oh, I want to get that, and I just don't pull the trigger on it. And I really didn't think about what I had just said. And he immediately was like, oh, like, okay, I'll tell you today. I think he was like, do a half off. I'll do it for you. I was like, oh, yeah. For a moment, I was going to think about it. And then I just kind of looked at you, was like, oh yeah, yep, that's my moment. So I did get it here. It is super dope. It's basically the Shredder from the 90s cartoon with Ninja Turtle action figures basically broken up and a pizza on his head. But the cool thing about it is it's black light. So like when I get a black light, I'll put it somewhere in the back. But I'm excited to be able to get that guy up because I have eyeballed it at multiple cons in multiple states. So and then the other guy
real quick before we get to the next one, it's Jamie, JAIME Coker, COKER _artist on Instagram. And then epictoysandcollectibles.com is his link. But
I want to see
super cool artwork. And then Kyle's got more art he bought.
Hold on, I wanted to see if I could maybe get the black light thing to work. See if you can see it on the video. Maybe not, but all right, this isn't a full black light. You're not going to be able to see it. Dang it. Man,
you can see that it glows. It
looks so cool in the black light. So anyways, yeah. And then the other guy who I feel like you and I at every con, we buy these two artists stuff.
Because I've got here and here and here and here.
One Jim Messinger. Oh, I should have looked that up before we were doing it because we get his stuff every day. Messling, Jim Messling. So, Jim is awesome. He does some really cool stuff. I have like been kicking myself that I don't have any Superman art, and I need a bunch because I'm going to do kind of a Superman section on my wall. So saw this on like he had it like printed on his tablecloth and was like, oh my God, I've got to get that. So I got that. I did get a couple other ones. I got a Batman one. I got a Star Wars kind of majestic Endor forest with like giant walkers in the background, but I was going to bring them over. Just wanted to show those two. So,
and that's Jim Messling, JimMehsling, Jim Messling on Instagram, and his website is www.cartooncaveman.
He does
cartooncaveman.com.
Any movie, any nerd thing that you like, he has multiple prints of it in different ways. This time I really took my time to go through his little book, which I never really do.
Mm-hmm.
And he has really cool like scenes from movies, like memorable scenes. Like one just off the top of my head was like Luke Skywalker when he's in his stormtrooper outfit, and Han Solo when he's in his stormtrooper outfit and he's like talking through the little mic from the prison cell on the Death Star.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. Like there's a cool scene from that. Yes. So, but he has a ton of movie scenes like that they're cool. Check them out. It's really inexpensive. I think he does it was like 3 for $30. I think they're $15 each. We did 2 buy 2 get 1 free.
It's like that, and it's a lot of good original art too. And he does a lot of cons too, because I've seen him in a lot. Just a couple other things. Obviously, Kyle and I go to cons. We look at art. We look at collectible figures. We look at comic books. Kyle more at collectible figures. Howie more at comic books, right? So we had a couple really cool interactions. I got to talk about one. Dave's Card and Comics. So that's Dave's Cards and Comics. He's on Facebook. He's out of York, Nebraska. But super cool guy. Really fun to talk to. He's actually who we were talking to when Ming came up and approached us. But I've been looking for a good newsstand copy of New Mutants 87, which is the first appearance of Cable. And he had one, and he had it priced really well. And it was in really nice shape. Not graded, but looked like it would probably be a good mid-high grade. And he was super nice, super friendly, told us a story about how he started to shop out in New York. And anyway, cut me a pretty good...
Started in his basement.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys do. There was actually another comic guy there, and he does out of his basement. So, but yeah, super, super cool. Gave me a good deal on the comic book. So check that out. That's Dave's Card and Comics. He's on Facebook, and that's out of York, Nebraska. Then the other one...
Oh, yeah, so we had it was not to say like we deserved it or anything, but it was cool that essentially everywhere that we went, like people weren't like, give us a shout out on the pod and we'll give you a discount, but they were like, oh, you're with the podcast, like that's cool. Here, let me discount like that. And that was basically everywhere that we bought stuff. So that was cool.
Yeah. And then the next one you've got a really cool like Raphael diorama figure. I don't know if you have that accessible to show that off.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, okay, so I saw this like right when we walked in, and I had just bought some stuff, so I was like, "Fuck!" Like I'm like, I'm not going to spend the money on that like right away. I want to check things out because it's really easy to like spend everything right when you walk in,
right?
So, and I saw this in this guy's booth. I just so happened to see a Donatello of this same like line or version at a comic book shop in Omaha a couple weeks ago. And I was like blown away because I'd never seen it before. Usually these are like super expensive. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get Donatello, but like if there's a Raph, I'll buy it. And there was literally, he had one and he had Raph. And I was sitting there staring at it. I'm like, like I need to get something. I need to just check out the con before I buy it. And then I just said, but I'm coming back and that's going home with me today. I said that to the guy. And as we had gone check out the con. I bought a shit ton more stuff, so I'd spent even more money. You guys tricked me into buying a super expensive Superman Doomsday 2-pack.
It was a good price.
It was a good price.
And he gave you a discount too.
Yeah, so as we were leaving, they shut down like an hour early, but
it wasn't busy. I mean, I kind of get it. These people all wanted to get out of there. So
we were leaving, and we just happened to walk right by that booth, and he was gone. So in my head, I was like, okay, cool. I'm not going to have to drop money on that. Like, I'll skip it. I know I told him I'd buy it.
Then I stopped at Dave's.
We stopped talking with Dave. And this dude, after we were there for 5 minutes, like, he came over to this other booth and was like, hey, you want to you're getting this Raphael, right? And I was just like, all right, I'll take it. So I ended up getting it. And I'm really happy I did, because this is freaking awesome.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool.
I'm gonna put it on in my turtle wall back here too. So
yeah, I love it. And so that actually, you bought that at the booth for Acme Comics and Collectibles, which is out of Sioux City, Iowa. They're on Facebook, Instagram, and X at under Acme First, ACMEFIRST. And they've got like I
was just gonna say
thing coming up in September. Yeah, and it's a small little comic shop up in Sioux City, Iowa. But he got Joe Cirillo from the original Ghostbusters. He's like the cop that like shuts down the containment unit. He's coming September 14th to Acme Comics in Sioux City. So if you're in or around Sioux City on September 14th.
But they're doing like a big, it's not just like come meet this celebrity. They're doing a huge like Ghostbuster event. So like he was talking about people in full like Ghostbuster attire, proton packs.
Yeah, he's got some of the cosplay Ghostbuster groups out of different cities are all coming. They're going to do it all in the parking lot, but that's September 14th. So that's pretty cool. He had a cool story too, kind of telling us about.
Yeah, he was cool as hell.
And that's for charity too. That most of the proceeds from that event are going to charity as well. He didn't tell us what charity, but definitely check it out. So that was O Con, man. It was a cool weekend. We got the shirts. We had a freaking blast. Like, I mean, with the content and stuff, and talking to Ming and Rooker. I mean, I go to a con every weekend if I could. I get why Ming does it.
We were driving home and was like, oh my God, could you imagine if we could just do this all the time? Like, that would be the thing. I would love it. I would really love it.
Yeah, it would be super cool. But
so anyway, comment and follow and share, guys, so that we can.
So we can do that all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. Our wives love it.
That's a good point.
Sorry, we're not home this weekend. We're at the con again. Anyway. All right. That takes us into our I can't believe you haven't seen it movie of the week, the 2010 action adventure film Robin Hood. So the 2010 Robin Hood is directed by Ridley Scott. It's written by Ethan Reif, Cyrus Voris, and Brian Helgeland. They did the story, and then the screenplay was Brian Helgeland. Excuse me while I get through this immense cast list.
Yeah, oh my God.
Amazing. Russell Crowe as Robin Longstride. Kate Blanchett as Maid Marian Loxley. William Hurt as William Marshall. Mark Strong as Godfrey. This list goes forever. Mark Addy as Friar Tuck. Kevin Durand as Little John. Scott Grimes as Will Scarlet. Alan Doyle as Alan Adale. There's his Merry Men. Oscar Isaac as Prince John, King John. Danny Houston as King Richard the Lionheart. Matthew McFadden as the Sheriff of Nottingham. Eileen Atkins as Eleanor of Aquitaine. Leah Sado as Isabella of Angoulême. And Max von Sydow as Sir Walter Loxley. Literally every one of those people is famous. And
there's some massive fucking cast.
Massive cast. So I looked up, there was one scene we were watching and I was like, is that Luke Evans with one line in this movie as like some random dude? And it was Luke Evans. Like, he wasn't famous yet. And then I was looking at the cast list. Ralph Ineson was in this movie somewhere. I don't remember seeing him. He's the from all the Robert Eggers movies. He's going to be the new Galactus. I don't remember seeing that or hearing his voice. I don't remember that, but holy cow, is there a ton of freaking famous people in this movie?
Which it was one of those movies where the entire movie as it goes, kind of like Oppenheimer, you were like, holy shit, that so and so is in this too.
Is nobody in
God.
this? Yeah, the people that weren't in it were the people that were originally cast for certain roles. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. But boy, this movie, it started out with a budget of $155 million that inflated to $237 million over the course of production. The movie made $320 million at the box office, which normal circumstances is considered a decent hit. When your budget has inflated to $237 million, that's a little tough to make your money back because that does not include advertising costs. It wasn't really a box office bomb, but it really didn't generate the revenue that they had hoped. Though I did read one reviewer was like, yeah, but this is like the biggest money-making medieval movie of all time.
Oh, sure.
$320 million. The production cost was just insane. And when you watch this movie, you absolutely see that because there are so many set pieces. There's so many different locations. There's the men, the horses, the machinery, the castles they built, the blah, 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 blah. It's all over the freaking place.
The attires, the suits, the weapons, like we had talked about that of like the freaking sets and all the props are so good. Like nothing feels fake. It feels like you're there.
Right.
So makes sense of where all that money had to go.
Absolutely. So, this movie, when I started like reading about this movie and the information about it, it started out, it was a script by Ethan Reif and Cyrus Voris, and it was originally titled Nottingham. And it evolved because their story was about like the sheriff and how he was a more sympathetic sheriff. And like Robin was like actually the bad guy at one point. And that's kind of how this started. Well, then Ridley Scott got attached to the movie. This all started like back in 2007. Ridley Scott got attached, didn't really like the way that story played out, brought in Brian Helgeland. I guess the early versions of the rewrite had Robin Hood was the sheriff of Nottingham.
Interesting.
And then it evolved from there into like a new origin story for Robin Hood. Like it just, it completely turned into something entirely different than what it was originally supposed to be. They kept elements of the story. Boy, this is obviously it's my first time seeing it. It's tons of exposition. There's so much story. You think you know the basic story of Robin Hood because you've seen Prince of Thieves or Men in Tights or the Disney version with the foxes, which is fantastic, by the way. You've seen all those. Oodalolly, oodalolly, golly, what a day. I love it. But this is like about the Crusades and the death of the Lionheart, and then how the merry men basically like steal identities pretending they're knights and they come home, and there's all this story. Basically, this movie ends when Robin Hood becomes Robin of the Hood, the outlaw, at the very end of this movie, to jump to the end of it, which is wild because it's like we watched the director's cut and I think it was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was fucking long.
It is a lot of story.
It's like I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but I remember liking it a lot when it came out. It's fucking awesome. This movie is, I think I was expecting Gladiator, right? Because it's, Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott. So like, and the way the trailers came out, it portrayed that this was going to be like as good or kind of on that same level as Gladiator. And I think in a lot of ways, it really was, in my opinion. It was kind of that same level of almost like an epic.
You get the vibe. You definitely get the vibe. You feel it. Like there's some of that, like the buildup, the politics involved, the evil king, emperor, whatever you want to, compare the two. There were points where we're watching it and you're like, every time I see Oscar Isaac as King John, I immediately think of Joaquin Phoenix. Like it's very similar characters. And the biggest difference honestly is Gladiator is very R-rated. This is very PG-13, and is very toned down on the violence, but it feels like Braveheart and Gladiator mixed together, and like Robin Hood's involved. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I just think it just didn't catch fire quite like the Gladiator did. So in terms of like, when I think of Gladiator, not the Gladiator, it's like one of the coolest, best movies of all time. It's like a top 25, top 30 dude movie, in my opinion. And I thought that this was going to be that, and it just wasn't. Like we'd said at the beginning, like there's a lot of people that don't even remember or know that this movie exists. So it's not going to get a Gladiator 2 like Gladiator is this summer,
which is still surprising.
But the movie sets it up, like you said, like he still does Robin Hood stuff like there's a ton of stuff that is very much from like the Robin Hood fairy tale, but he's not, like you said, he's not fully like embracing the like Robin Hood, steal from the rich, give to the poor. He does some of that in the movie, but it's not like he evolves into that character and sets it up for what I thought was going to be a badass sequel that is never going to happen. But they totally could have done like the sequel where him and King John really get into it. So Oscar Isaac was so good at being just like Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator. He, at the time, he wasn't really big and famous and popular because he hadn't done Ex Machina, he hadn't done Dune, he hadn't done Star Wars, so nobody knew him. I didn't know him. They have different contacts in his eyes, so he just looks weird.
He's much skinnier too in this.
Yes,
like I don't think Oscar Isaac. I don't think of Oscar Isaac as a big guy, but he's lanky and kind of frail looking in this. Like it seemed intentional, but because he's the weaselly little brother. I
was just gonna say, you when you think of this Robin Hood story, you think of Prince John / King John as like this like sniveling little like wants the world and he wants it now, and if he doesn't get it, he's gonna lose his mind, but also is jealous of everyone because he is no one and nothing big. Oscar Isaac like nails it. He just like Joaquin, he is so good at being hateable. Like you cannot stand his character in this movie.
Right.
So
one of the biggest things that I mentioned this while we were watching it, I'm like, Russell Crowe doesn't seem fit for this role. Like Russell Crowe doesn't seem like he should be Robin Hood. And that was one of the things that like the entire time I'm watching it, like I don't have a problem with Russell Crowe. I have no problem with the way he played the role, but never once am I like, oh yeah, he's definitely Robin Hood. No, he's Russell Crowe. I mean, it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like it just, you have to have like a certain kind of vibe. And I felt like the character was too old too, but I mean, I guess he is coming back from 10 years of the Crusades. Like he should at least probably be in his 30s. But I mean, I think at the time Russell Crowe was probably pushing 50. Yeah. So it's a little different.
Right. When you think of Robin Hood, you think of like this young, attractive, brash debonair.
And when you think of outlaw, you think of young, you think of immature, scallywag,
charismatic, Prince Charming face, but like a troublemaker that the girls are gonna like. That's what you think. So like this Russell Crowe he's older. He hasn't quite hit his stride as like way overweight Russell Crowe that we've seen in the last couple of years in movies.
He was actually pretty jacked in this movie, but
yeah, we were talking about it because at the time, when I was younger, I wanted it. I thought like, oh, this is Russell Crowe in a freaking as Robin Hood or like the Gladiator. He's going to be this jacked action hero, and he wasn't what he was in Gladiator because he was older, and so I think when I originally saw it, I thought, man, Russell Crowe's not like big and bad as he was in Gladiator. But this time we were watching it as we're talking about like how old he is and like he does like a shirtless scene where he takes his armor off and he's like pretty fucking jacked.
She's huge.
He looks like a brick shit house. So we were like, okay, maybe it's kind of in shape. So,
all right. So, first fun fact, because I've got several for this movie because there's a lot.
Love it.
First fun fact of this movie. So Russell Crowe's horse, in real life, the horse he rides throughout the movie, like that he comes back to England with, and he has throughout the entire movie. The horse's name is George, and it's the exact same horse he had in Gladiator.
Oh my God, that is a cool fun fact.
That is a cool fact. George the horse.
Does he own that horse, or they just happen to?
It didn't say who owned it, but I would assume either he does or they used the same, animal
like handler.
Yeah, animal handler. And I thought that was kind of a fun fact. But.
That is fascinating.
So, a brief synopsis, okay? Most people know the story of Robin Hood. This one just creates like mountains of exposition to get him going. Fought in the Crusades with the Lionheart, was very loyal to the crown. King dies, okay?
Very early on, they established that he is a badass archer.
Right. Robin Hood's a badass archer. He has a couple guys he's friends with. Will Scarlet, Alan O'Dale. He gets into a beef with Little John. They're all fighting in the Crusades together, but he respects them, so they join up. They're all buddies. Right? They're the merry men. They are returning home, and basically what's going on behind the scenes is there's a plot by the French to invade England after they assassinate the king. What they don't know is the king's already dead. Right. So Godfrey is this loyalist to the crown. He's good friends with Prince John, but he's highest bidder is whoever I'm going to work for. So the French are paying Godfrey to basically start a war in England for fighting amongst infighting, so that then France can come and invade the country because everybody's vulnerable. Right.
Yep.
Godfrey and his assassins come to kill the king on their return home to England from the Crusades. King's already dead, so Godfrey kills the king's right-hand man, Robert Locksley, right? Just so happens at the same time, here comes Russell Crowe, Robin Hood, and the Merry Men, right? So this is Robin Longstride, because he walks big walks. Anyway, they come across, they stop Godfrey. He gives him a old Joker smile with an arrow because he shoots at him. They kill a bunch of the assassins. They escape. He comes upon Robert Locksley, and Robert Locksley's like, I have the crown of the king. You have to return it to London. You have to give it to the queen. Go to this boat. Take it to them. And then here's my sword. Take it to my father. And he goes into this big long story about the love of a father and a son, and he needs it, and yada, yada, yada. And Russell Crowe's like, my father abandoned me. I don't believe in all that malarkey, but you have my word. I'll return. But I have my word. I'll return the sword. So they're like, well, we're going to take these guys' clothes. We're going to look like we're knights. We're going to go return the crown to the boat that's waiting for the king. And then we're going to go. We're going to get a ride back, and we're going to go do our own thing. We're going to figure out what it is because we don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Basic gist of it, right? Because their thought is if we look like these like scallywags, these, peasant people coming back, and oh, by the way, we have the crown of the King of England, they're going to think we killed him. Yeah. And then we're going to get killed anyway, because it doesn't matter if they're wrong. We're peasants anyway. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
So they pretend they're these knights. They find like the king's steward is on the boat. They take him back. They party on the boat, yada, yada. They wake up. They're at the Tower of London. They did not expect to have to actually take the crown back. They figured the steward was going to take it. They were going to get dropped off and get free to go. So Russell Crowe has to present the crown to Eleanor of Aquitaine, and she immediately crowns Prince John to King John. And he's like, what's your name? And he tells him, and there's William Marshall, William Hertz, like the advisor to the king. I'm going into super detail here, but you got to get to this so we can fast forward through the rest. Right? So they hightail it out of there after all this. The king's a jerk, but they got to go up to Nottingham to deliver the sword. Right? There's, like I said, there's tons of plot in this movie. You guys have to understand this. There's so much. He goes up there. The king's taxing everything, right? And then the king's like sends Godfrey out to like get the tax money, like, you know, crack down doors and stuff if you have to. Godfrey takes this as I'm going to just kill everybody, and that's going to start the infighting because they're all going to be mad at King John, and that's going to start this infighting so that the French can invade. And Godfrey's like, they're doing my job for me. It's easy peasy. Robin Longstride goes to Locksley's, turns the sword. Kate Blanchett's there. He doesn't realize it's his wife, you know, Robert Locksley's wife.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I have to return the sword to, you know, what's his name? Walter Locksley. His son died. And she's like, oh, you know, it's actually my husband. Anyway.
It's like, all right, let me go take that sword back. BT Dubs, that's my husband you're talking about.
By the way, that's my husband. Locksley, the old man Locksley's blind. He's like in his 80s, but he wants Russell Crowe to pretend to be Robert Locksley so that they don't take the land.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wants him to pretend to be his son. He wants him to pretend to be Marion's husband. And I'm just sitting there like, this is crazy. Like this,
it's crazy when nuts. So like Robin is pretending to be this knight Locksley so that he can get away from England because they are deserters. But he has it in his heart to take this sword back to Locksley's dad. And as you would think, someone who's pretending to be a knight, which is a big deal, like you don't want to get caught or you don't want to get in trouble. And then somehow when he meets his dad and his wife, they want him to pretend to be the son. So they want him to continue to pretend to be that. So
and he's like, well, I'm already doing it. So, okay.
Yeah. It's like, I don't really have literally anything else to do.
He agrees to it. This is the part. We got through that. People, hold on. We're almost there. We're going to fast forward now. him and Kate Blanchett, like you find out, like she wasn't married very long before he went off to the Crusades anyway. She really didn't know her husband that well. Right.
Yep.
Her and Russell Crowe spend time together. She realizes he's actually a really good dude. He's actually for the people. There's a scene where they have to take all the grain from the town of Nottingham, and they have to take it to London. Well, him and his merry men rob the grain back in the middle of the night, and then they go plant it, right? Basically they're giving it back to the people. She realizes, he tells her, oh, thank you. You know, you're doing all these good things, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, that's all happening. Godfrey's plan is working. All these lords and barons are turning against the king. They all form up. They're all going to go march on London. They're going to go attack King John, right? Meanwhile, Prince Philip of France is like, we're moving in. Time to invade England and take it. Okay, so they're marching. Turns out, Robin Longstride's dad was like this big visionary who created a charter that was going to give more power to the people and take it away from the monarchy, and it got him killed. And actually, so Locksley knew who he was the entire time. He actually was a noble. William Marshall knows who he is. They all were involved with this. There's a lot going on, right?
Yeah, so you find out that he's not a nobody. He's not an orphan nobody whose dad left him, because he says that line earlier. You find out, actually, in very movie fashion, he is essentially the son of the chosen one, I would say, because they're looking at his dad.
He was a great man. He was so smart. He did all this and led all these people,
leading the people. So
yeah, he was the one. He was a martyr. Blah blah blah. He did all these things. King John shows up, confronts this other army, and he's like, "What are we gonna do? What are you gonna do about it?" And here comes Robin Longstride, and he's like, "This is what we want. We need to form up together. The French are coming to invade. We need to join forces. We need to give more power to the people, quit with all the taxation, quit stealing everything, yada, yada, yada." And he's like, King John's finally like, "You would take my power, but I agree. I'll give you my word." Yay, everybody's happy. Let's go stop the French. Big fight scene. Stop the French. Of course,
cool battle scene.
It is a cool battle scene. Yeah.
It's very Normandy beach, cool.
In medieval times. But
medieval times.
Yeah, but it is very they're in these boats and they're unloading. It is. Looks like very much like Saving Private Ryan, but with swords and helmets. Anyway, yeah, Godfrey's getting away. The French are losing. England's gonna win. Old Robin Hood pulls back his arrow and shoots Godfrey across the entire battlefield, just right in the neck, kills him. Yay, bad guy's dead.
Just like his dad, Robin Hood, Russell Crowe, is like the people's champ. Like,
of course.
They're all looking at him as he's now their leader, even though King John is there.
Yeah, King John, like William Marshall's like, Your Highness, King John, like, we've won. The French have surrendered. And he's like, to who? They haven't surrendered to me. And then they're like, oh, to, Robin Longstride.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They surrendered to him. And so now here we go. We're fast forward. We're at the end of the movie. He's going to sign King John's supposed to sign the charter. And he's like, I won't sign this. This takes away my power. This is, God gave me the right to be king. And he burns it in front of everybody. Everybody's pissed off.
Yeah, it's like, I know I told you all that we would do this together so that we could all be on the same team to fight off the French. But now that we fought off the French, fuck you.
Yeah.
I am not signing that. You're going to pay me.
Yeah.
Fuck off. And Robin is a enemy
outlaw
of the state. Yeah.
And he's now an outlaw. And so he's going to go live in the woods with all the creepy kids and masks and stuff.
Yes.
Listen, that's a lot. There's a lot of plot to this movie. It's not straightforward Robin Hood. Robin Hood basically starts when this movie freaking ends. Like, even the end card had like a title card that said, and like, now the journey begins, or something like that. It's something like that, right? It was basically setting up a sequel. Fun fact, when this movie first premiered on Netflix, they actually took that title card out of there so that it just faded to black and went to the credits.
Oh,
yeah. Because they're like, no, you ain't getting a sequel. I spent too much money already.
We can't spark a fire amongst Netflix fans. We don't want them begging for a new one.
You already spent too much money. But listen, it's a cool movie. The story's cool. It's too much. I thought the story was too much. Like, don't just call it Robin Hood. Don't just slap Robin Hood on it and say like it's Robin Hood. We want to see Robin Hood then, right? Like, it's just, there's too much. They tried to make something out of Robin Hood. Maybe call it something else. Maybe they should have called it Robin Longstride, the story of how Robin Hood became Robin Hood, or something like that. So then at least
that's a good.
Yeah, just call it Longstride. How he became Robin of the Hood, something like that. I should make money right there, creating movie titles. Overall, it's not a bad movie whatsoever. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. It's not great, I know reviews were very mixed. Kind of, a lot of people thought it was good. A lot of people thought it was dumb. Most of them agreed it was too much story, too much going on. It's 7.
Yeah, nice.
It's a good 7. I enjoyed it.
It's a quality, feels like a AAA epic movie, but just like I said earlier, it just didn't catch quite like Braveheart or Gladiator did. But it's still, if you liked those movies, you will more than likely like this movie. I enjoy this movie. This is the second time I've seen it in like 10 years, but it's a cool movie. It's definitely worth going back and checking out if you've never seen it.
If you've never seen it and you're interested in that origin kind of stuff, it's a different take. I like different takes, but it was just a little longer than it probably should have been. And I don't dislike Russell Crowe. We talked, when we did The Nice Guys, how much we like Russell Crowe, but it didn't fit. And it sure seemed like when they originally cast, they had wanted a younger Robin Hood, because originally Sienna Miller was cast as Maid Marian. And then they gave her the boot and brought Cate Blanchett on because they went with Russell Crowe as Robin Hood. So they did go, they originally were going to do younger.
Fascinating.
I wonder who that would have been. They never said that there was a name, but I thought that was...
Maybe it would have been Oscar Isaac as the good guy.
Maybe. He's got that dark black hair, though.
You get rid of those weird contacts they had him in, he could totally do it.
Yeah.
7. I think it's a 7. It's not a bad movie. I think of it as a cool movie. I don't go and watch it very often, but it's worth a watch. It's worth a one-time watch.
Yes, I don't regret that I've seen it.
You enjoyed it at least, right?
I did.
A little
enjoyed
bit.
It. It's the fourth best Robin Hood movie I can think of off the top of my head.
That's outstanding.
We're not ranking Robin Hood movies today. Don't worry.
Nope.
Disney be number 1, just so you know.
Yes, facts. Nice. Okay. Love
All
that.
Right. So anyway, that's our review of the 2010 action-adventure film Ridley Scott's Robin Hood. And that takes us into my favorite segment. There can be only 5.
Only 5.
Kyle, it's July. We're halfway through 2024 already. Can you believe it?
It's wild.
It
When you
is.
said that earlier today, I was like, oh shit, we are.
It is absolutely insane. So, in true movie dance fashion, it being the halfway point of the year, we have to do our top 5 movies of 2024 so far. Interesting first half of the year, I think. I think the strike had a lot to do with that.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. Not a ton of like great movies. Now, again, those are usually held for award season, and you know, not to get too spoilery, but I'm pretty sure one of the movies that's probably close to the top of our list was supposed to be an award season last year and got delayed.
Facts.
So, do you want to go first?
This is true. Yeah, why not? Just like you said, I was like, as I was doing this list, I was like, man, this isn't the strike season, but this is where we're seeing the effects of the strike, and that we just didn't get as many movies as we thought we were going to. There's one movie that it's not really an honorable mention because I haven't seen it yet, but I saw it on a bunch of lists. I've seen the trailer for it. It looks super interesting. It's a movie that I am looking forward to watching. I'm probably going to watch it tonight. It's called Saw the TV Glow. Have you seen anything for that?
No, I mean, I've seen the trailer, and
it's kind of wild.
Reagan wanted to watch it, and I was like, man, I don't know. It looks really weird. And
it looks weird.
It is on a lot of top 10 lists.
Yes,
it's probably worth checking out. I think Justice Smith's the main character in that one.
So I haven't seen it. And
it looks not on my list. Is it a horror movie?
Yeah, it's like a mystery horror.
Yeah.
Like I get like 80s kind of Stranger Things kind of vibes, but maybe a little bit more.
I think it's one of those ones where you have absolutely no idea what the actual movie's about.
That's a great point. Very Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind kind of thing, where you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Hopefully better, though.
I hope. Well, maybe the people that think this movie is great are the same people that think that other movie is great. So
very good possibility.
Anyways, random plug for that movie. But for me, top 5 of 2024. I know you didn't really thus far as of July. I know you didn't think too much about this movie. It was a letdown, but just looking at the list of movies that came out, it is in my top 5 of the year. I had Bike Riders. It hit everything that I wanted that movie to hit. So Tom Hardy, Austin Butler, freaking awesome movie. If you're a fan of either of those actors, go check it out. Number 4, I had Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I almost had this higher, but I went back and forth on a couple of these. But this movie was just it was great.
It was.
The last couple of Planet of the Apes movies have been good, but this one I felt was like it brought me back in of like, oh man, this is cool. We've got fresh actors, fresh characters, kind of fast forward to a little bit more in the future and like kind of that Armageddon type setting. I liked it. It gave you a little bit of that feel of like the original Planet of the Apes time frame. So, but yeah, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, number 4. Number 3, I had Furiosa. Almost had it higher, but I dropped it down because I've got a surprise on my list. But Furiosa was our Mad Max 1.5. Freaking ton of fun, super colorful, absolute blockbuster. Chris Hemsworth stole the show. Just amazing. That movie, I think, will probably be on my top 5 list at the end of the year, I imagine. And then this movie, I just talked with you about it the other day. I've got it number 2. It's called Mars Express. It is an anime movie that has it, which you pointed out, which I didn't realize. I had already liked it, but then you pointed out it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's an anime movie that is like Minority Report, iRobot, Blade Runner. It's like cyberpunk. It's set in this like cyberpunk future utopia city on Mars.
It's French, right?
Yes, but it's on it. It has English. I don't know if it's English dubbed. It seemed like an English movie, but
yeah, it'd probably be dubbed then.
But the actors were great. The movie was fucking cool. It's like there's like basically like a murder mystery. But it was awesome. I saw the trailer for it, Mars Express. It looked cool, and then one night a couple weeks ago, I put it on and was like, "Oh, dude, this movie is kick ass." So,
Nice.
I don't want to say like Ghost in the Shell exact vibes, but just kind of like great quality anime movie. And I'm not even an anime guy, so but I would highly recommend seeing that if you haven't. Mars Express, number 2. And then number 1, this should be the number 1 for everyone on this list, or that's talking about movies of the year. Dune Part 2, just amazing. Dune Part 2 is going to be for sure my top 5 movies of the year. If not going to win it, because it probably could have won it if it came out last year. So
yeah, we talked about that. Like it's too bad. It got delayed.
Yep. But man, what a freaking movie. I have watched that probably 7 or 8 times since it's come out. It's so freaking good. Dune Part 2, top movie of the year so far.
Agreed.
What do you got?
All right. I did honorable mentions because there were some movies I at least wanted to give a shout out to that were so close to being on my list, but didn't quite make it. So I had first Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, just on the outside looking in. Really enjoyed the movie. Thought it was right on par with the other ones, the newer movies in quality. Everything you said, everything we said when we talked about it, when we did the review on it, like really great movie. If you haven't seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, highly, highly, highly recommend. The other honorable mention I wanted to give was a movie that I just saw the other night. It was a movie that I wanted to see in theaters, but I didn't get a chance to. In a Violent Nature. Just came out streaming. Indie flick. It's basically a slasher Friday the 13th type movie, but it's completely from the perspective of the killer. And it is freaking nuts. It starts out.
I didn't know that you finally saw it.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it because I saw it like Friday night, and you and I were so busy talking about other stuff that we didn't get a chance to because of the con. Some of the reviews that didn't like it were like, it's too artsy, slow, fartsy, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. It does have some downtime because like the killer, like when you're following him walking, yes, he doesn't talk. He's basically like a zombie murder. And this sounds so dumb when I'm talking about it. It's shot really cool. The death scenes are abso-freaking-lutely nuts. The single, listen, I love Friday the 13th. I love those movies. Like some of those kills, I'm like, that's awesome. It has the wildest death scene I've ever seen in that kind of movie.
Nice.
I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, this is what happened. And he does this and he does it. And she's like, that's disgusting. And I'm like, I know. It was so cool. But anyway, highly recommend In a Violent Nature. So
love it.
Those are my honorable mentions. I was going to do that for 6 to Midnight until we had so much con stuff to talk about. I was going to talk about In a Violent Nature since it just came out on streaming. But and number 5, I had Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, fuck. Damn it.
That movie rocked. And
that would have been in my top 5.
Really got under my skin and really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Completely shot like it's an episode of you're watching of The Tonight Show in the 70s. And I mean, it takes place during Satanic Panic. It's wild. A lot of critics loved that movie. A lot of people didn't like that movie because there's cut scenes. They're basically like title cards, like a title card pop up, like we're at commercial break, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently the movie used AI art for that. And of course that's a pretty hot button issue. That they used AI art for that. So there was a lot of people who were pissed off at that movie for that. Movie itself, I thought was really well done. David Dastmalchian was crazy good in that movie.
Dude,
really
super
enjoyed
original. Just a
I thought
super
so,
original movie.
And really good reviews. So if you get a chance to check out Late Night with the Devil. At number 4, I had Inside Out 2. I thought it was a very good movie. Kids really liked it. I have a teenager at home, and so the movie was like a window into the shit that I'm dealing with on a day in, day out basis, right? Anxiety's running the ship, right? Like it's pretty wild, but it's also very good, just like the original one was. They're pretty close in quality. If you liked Inside Out 1, highly recommend Inside Out 2.
Inside Out 1 hits me right in the feels every time. It's one of those movies that makes me tear up no matter what.
Inside Out 2 is going to do a lot of that too. It's pretty good. But yeah, and it's taken the box office by storm. It's already over $1 billion. First $1 billion grosser since Barbie. Like it's on pace to possibly take one of the top couple animated movies of all time spots. So,
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's blowing.
It makes sense. The first one was awesome. That's probably why I haven't seen it yet, because I like to avoid emotions. I don't like to feel. So
understood. But the box office was in a tough spot. It has been a tough year. Obviously, Inside Out seems like it has proven that it's not a long-term problem. And hopefully we've got a couple movies coming up here at the end of July that can do the same.
If Deadpool Wolverine doesn't freaking change everything, I'm gonna be so
hard to gauge because it's an R-rated movie and it's comic book movie, so it's hard to gauge, right? You wonder, but we'll see. And then at number 3, I kind of reference back to the box office. I had Furiosa at number 3. Great movie, loved it. Not quite Fury Road, but close, man. It's good in quality. If you like the George Miller Mad Max movies, if you like Fury Road, you'll like Furiosa. And not a lot of people went and saw it at the theater. I definitely recommend still seeing it at the theater if you get a chance to do it, just like we did when we did our review. If not,
it's already available to stream.
Already available to stream. Crazy. You can rent it or buy it at home. I highly recommend it. And then at number 2, I had The Fall Guy, man. I've seen that twice. I thoroughly enjoyed The Fall Guy. I thought it was hilarious. I think Ryan Gosling's awesome. Emily Blunt's great. The whole movie it's just a old school fun time at the movies. Like action, comedy, romance, drama. It's all infused. It's one of those movies that you don't feel like they make a ton of those anymore, and it's just a whole heck of a lot of fun. And it's a love letter to the stunt community, which we can all respect that. It's definitely one of those groups in Hollywood that don't get the recognition they deserve. So
that's right.
Fall Guy, definitely check it out. Highly recommended. And then number 1 is Dune Part 2. No doubt about it. Slam dunk. Not even close. It's Dune Part 2. It's everything else.
Yep.
It should still be at the top of this list at the end of the year, unless something blows me away. I'm hoping something does, but because you got the first big release in frickin' March is going to possibly be the best movie of the year, and it probably would have been the best movie of last year. I mean, am I glad they delayed it? No, but at the same time, Oppenheimer was a masterpiece. Dune Part 2 hopefully can be a masterpiece this year because it's right there. Anyway,
unless we get a Godzilla -1, 2.
No way they churned something out that good that fast, but who knows?
That snuck up on us last year. Nice. All right. Love that. Love your list. Right. Was The Fall Guys. I know that you enjoyed that, but it didn't even occur to me to be on your top 5 list. So I love that. I was I didn't even recognize Late Night with the Devil as a movie of this year, so I regret not having that on my list for an honorable mention because I did love that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, sweet. Well, let's jump into our newest segment that we've been doing. We've been calling it "How Rotten Is Your Tomatoes?" It's basically where one or the other will basically tell the other two movies that came out and in the past, and we guessed basically what the Rotten Tomato score was, which movie was higher, which movie was lower. Oftentimes we have some surprises in there. Sometimes it's right where you think it should be. But it's a ton of, we've been doing it the last couple of weeks and it's been fun. I've been really enjoying it. So
yeah, it's fun.
This week I've got 5 sets of movies. And we're going to jump right into it. So I'm going to tell you the name of the movie, and then what year it came out, and then you tell me what you think the score is, higher, lower, and then you guess the score.
Okay.
Last week, I think I had guessed maybe 1 or 2, and then the week before, you were like right on what you guessed the exact.
Yeah,
score
I had a couple 2 weeks ago, and then last week you had some you were like
crazy. 1
off of. Yeah, it was really we've been doing good.
Yes, it's been a ton of fun. So, all right. First up, Spider-Man 2 from 2004, and then from 2001, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
So we had Fellowship of the Ring on a list.
Damn it.
A few weeks ago. I had
That's
it.
Okay. Remember, you remember off the top of your head. Don't look at it on your list.
I'm looking at my paper. I don't have it. I have paper.
How did I not remember that? We're still gonna, it's a different, compared
Spider-Man
to
2 is higher at 92. And Fellowships.
What makes you think that movie is higher than the other?
Because I think Spider-Man 2 ended up in the 90s. I want to say Fellowship was either at 89 or at 90.
Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, or Fellowship of the Ring is 92%.
Okay.
And then Spider-Man 2 is a 94%. So you were right. You were right about Spider-Man 2 being the higher. But IMDb, Lord of the Rings at 8.8, Spider-Man 2 is 7.4. So I always think it's interesting to see like the Rotten Tomatoes score compared to like what IMDb does.
Well, because Rotten Tomatoes is obviously reviewers, right? Which is, I mean, I guess it's surprising that Spider-Man 2 is higher, but IMDb's fans. So that's like an audience score.
I still
at the same time, yeah.
Obviously love that movie. It's very fond of that
which
movie.
one of those two movies is better?
But I think when I think of Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, I think of like, this is an all-time, forever great movie.
Yeah, we talk about Spider-Man 2 as one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. We talk about the Lord of the Rings trilogy as one of the greatest movies of all time.
Facts.
Doesn't have to be genre. So,
as you say that, now I'm like, shit, did I do any movies that we've freaking talked about before? Maybe I just was like totally blind or just blacked out when I did it. But here we go. 2009 Star Trek. Chris Pine. With 1998's A Bug's Life, which I think... No, we didn't do Bug's Life.
We did Ants.
Bug's Life, 98. Star Trek, 2009, Chris Pine versus Bug's Life in 1998.
Star Trek is lower at 91. And Bug's Life is 93.
Star Trek is higher.
Bullshit.
At a 94%.
Wow.
Star Trek with Chris Pine was a 94%. I actually really love that movie.
Oh, I love that movie too, but I mean,
and
like,
that franchise.
Wow.
But I didn't think it was liked like that. So that was like shocking. And then A Bug's Life is a 91%. So
I kind of had them flip-flopped.
You did have them flip-flop. So I saw that and was just like, damn, I thought A Bug's Life is Pixar. Those movies are like universally loved by everyone, critics and all.
Yeah, but it's probably like, man, in the pantheon of Pixar movies, it's towards the bottom. Think about it.
I can see why you would feel like that.
But I mean,
it's the same with my kids. Like oftentimes A Bug's Life is like when I go to put that on, they're like, no, let's watch like Toy Story or Finding Nemo. I like A Bug's Life.
I do too. I think it's great. Better name.
Okay. 2005. Bend It Like Beckham. 2009. Avatar.
Like you're tricking me.
Am I though?
Bend it like Beckham's higher. Bend it like
Do you
Beckham's.
really think that? Do you really think that?
I'm gonna say it. Bend it like Beckham's higher. It's a 92 and Avatar's an 89. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. So Avatar, does that still hold the top spot, or at one point it was the top
Box
spot
office.
of like
Yeah, I think it's still number one.
box office
because of the re-release.
Greatest box office movie of all time? Bend It Like Beckham. It's like a straight to VHS or something,
No,
but
it was
everybody knows
popular.
about it. Have you seen Bend It Like Beckham?
No.
Me neither.
Okay.
Bend It Like Beckham is the higher rated movie
Yeah.
at an 85%.
Well, at least I think they got Avatar's score right.
The highest grossing box office movie of all time is an 83%.
All right. I'll allow
I
it.
was like shocked when I was looking at that. It's like, what?
I'm not a big Avatar fan. I never have been. I never will be. I don't get it like a lot of people. I don't get it.
No, that's okay.
They look great. They're cool. I saw the first one in 3D. I thought it was amazing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Was a big thing.
Dances with Wolves in Space. That's all it is.
Literally. Okay, 2 more sets. I've picked out your favorite movie ever. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull versus Men of Honor from 2000.
The Bobby D. Robert De Niro movie.
Yep. Oh, Robert
I
De Niro,
liked Men of Honor.
sir.
Cuba Gooding Jr. I like that movie.
Yeah. His freaking leg gets ripped off.
Damn, I'm gonna go with Men of Honor. This is a higher movie. I really don't know. I feel like I'm gonna go with Men of Honor, and I'm gonna say like 78.
Okay, what did you have for Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull?
75.
Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull is a 77%.
Damn.
Men of Honor, Robert De Niro, Cuba Gooding Jr. was a 42% on Rotten.
Get out of here. Like
Indiana Jones is a rated higher movie, The Crystal Skull, than Men of Honor, which I'm pretty sure won some awards. So that was interesting to me.
It is. Maybe that movie's not as good as I remember it. Whatever.
My last 2, these were fun movies that I fondly remember. 2004's Troy, Brad Pitt. What was that face? You didn't like Troy?
I'm thinking like, was it a good movie or was it a fun movie? Those are 2 different things.
An awesome movie is what it was. And then 2007's Transformers.
Oh my god. Are they close?
They're pretty close.
I'm going to go Transformers at 62. And Troy's a 59.
Why do you think Transformers is a higher movie?
I don't think Troy was well loved. I really don't. I don't think it was well regarded.
Transformers was a 57%. And Troy was a 55%. Transformers was higher than Troy. Which, for me, when I saw that, I was like, Troy's in the 50s? That movie was a badass.
Was it?
Yeah. Go back and rewatch it.
I don't want to.
When he freaking Achilles takes that dude out in the beginning with the sword, it's like,
other than that scene. How's the movie?
Oh my god, his one-on-one with freaking Banner. Who is it? With Bruce? Not Bruce Banner.
David Banner.
Yeah, David.
Listen, it's okay. It's not bad. It's not great. I think it's in the right place.
Maybe I was at the age when that came out that I was like, "Oh, this is a freaking epic." So
yeah.
But
you're like a big Braveheart gladiator guy. That's up your alley.
That's true. This is
you like
true.
Guys in loincloths and stuff. You keep telling me to watch Spartacus a lot. So
okay, did you like the movie 300?
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
You did.
The action's good.
Spartacus is a freaking awesome show.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Spartacus, check it out. All right.
I like it. That's fun. That was good. Those are good. Those are good picks.
Oh
Damn
my
it.
gosh.
God, it didn't hit me this week though. I'm disappointed, but
You were close. One of them you had like right on the money. I think
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 or something.
yeah, I was close. It was in the ballpark. But
Nice.
anyway, a lot of fun. If you like the segment, let us know. If you got a better name for it than How Rotten Is Your Tomato, let us know.
Yeah, we gotta
It's a
figure something
mouthful,
out.
you know. I mean, you can tell us if you don't like any of our segments, if you don't like the names. Probably not going to change them at this point, but this one's still up for debate, so let us know. Anyway, yeah, that brings us to the end of episode 54 of the Movie Dads podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please click the like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get notifications when new episodes come out, which is 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not watching us on YouTube, you can find us on other podcast networks such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, among many others. You can also see some of our short clips and videos on social media at Movie Dads Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you enjoyed the interview with Ming Chen. We had a blast with that. Click like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Check us out at Movie Dads. Yeah, so a lot of fun talking about O Con. Hopefully we've got some more Comic-Cons in the future.
Yep.
We haven't really talked about it, but Reagan and I are going to Nightmare Weekend in September, which is in Des Moines. We have a lot of fun coming out with that. Yeah, so we're going to see how that goes. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Episode 55 of the Movie Dads podcast. I believe you're talking about taking a trip, so we might delay a bit. Just kind of depends on when recording looks like. So we'll let everybody know that. But the next two movies we got coming up, we're going to do the new Axel Foley movie on Netflix with Eddie Murphy. And then we're also going to be doing a You Need to See This movie, Blade and Blade 2.
Freaking let's go.
There's rumors
I'm
going
so
around.
excited to watch
Rumors
those
going around. Wesley Snipes might pop up in a certain MCU movie at the end of July. So we thought, you know what? Let's dust out the old Blade and let's see what Wesley's been up to. So we'll let you know when
those unanimously were like, oh yeah, let's do that.
Hell yeah, let's do Blade. Yeah, we're gonna do Blade and Blade 2, two totally different movies, but both rock in their own way.
Sure.
So we'll talk about that. But they'll be coming up. We'll let you know about programming schedule, kind of based on how things are going with the 4th of July holiday. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.